back. Okay, I know everyone has been like freaking out about this session coming up. So yes, we are here with Mastercard learning more about the technical interview prep. All right, y'all. I'm really excited to introduce to you Harriet Darkwa. And she is a human resources leader with 20 years of experience. Her passion is providing HR solutions for her clients by helping them identify and develop their employees. She has successfully led this effort for Fortune companies, including Verizon Communications, The Hartford, and Honeywell. Harriet is the director of talent acquisition campus, leading a team who connects priceless opportunities with amazing tech candidates. She's also responsible for the global strategy for the tech space. Harriet holds a Master's of Science degree from NYU, okay, and also enjoys spending time with her family, reading, and developing young people in her community. She is a wife of a wonderful husband and the mother of 3 amazing children. Y'all give all the love in the chat and the emojis to Harriet. Thank you.
Awesome, Michelle Donna. Thank you so very much, and welcome to everyone who's online. Thanks for all the fly emojis. I love the hearts. I love the claps. Thank you all so very much. I mean, it's always awkward to hear you be spoken about, but I guess that is me in a nutshell. And I'm so excited to be here with you all and be with the fam. It is Fam Friday, and I'm so happy to be with you all. Please know you are with family. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to ace that technical interview. I know you all technologists, and you're probably thinking, how am I going to get through this? How can I really ace this and make the most of these technical interviews that you're going through? So we're going to talk a little bit about that, but I do have a couple of rules while I do share my screen. A couple of rules here is that you have to ask questions. Ask questions, right? Don't feel shy. The more questions you ask, the better it is for you and I. And I'm going to be on presentation mode. So hopefully y'all let me know when you see that. And then also know that, again, you are with family. So it's a safe space. If you no question is a dumb question, okay? And we'll keep this moving. So I've already done my introduction. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what the coding or the technical interview process looks like, right? So there are typically 4 stages, right? There in an interview, it usually starts off with some type of introduction and foundational interview questions, right? So what does that mean? It's not necessarily in your introduction that you need to share everything about yourself. I know candidates get confused. Like you say, tell me a little bit about yourself. I'm telling you a little bit about myself. Doesn't mean you have to talk about, you're one of 4 children, or, maybe things that could be a bit personal or even can create bias, but you want to share that 90-second elevator pitch. My name, as you know, I am a student at this school and I've done this work, things of that nature. So if you don't know how to get together a 90-second elevator pitch, please Google it up. I'm sure work with your color stack contacts. They will help you create that. And then typically you go into some type of a coding prompt exercise, which we'll talk a little bit more about. And then there are at times supplemental questions. So don't think it's only coding or it's only behavioral based or, situational questions. Sometimes it can be a combination of both. We do at times see candidates who get tripped up by that. Be prepared for either one or both. Know that you're going to have follow-up questions. And so be prepared to answer those questions outside of just the technical coding question. And then there's, of course, Q&A. That goes without saying. You've got to have a question. Ask about the culture. Ask about that interviewer's experience. Everybody likes, generally, pro tip, to talk about themselves. So asking about their experience is great. Asking about the future of the business, asking about that team or what would make a successful candidate are all great questions to ask during the Q&A portion. All right. Again, don't forget, you got a question, put in the chat. I'm going to try to get through them. I see we have a question of interviewee doesn't pass all the test cases for the question in time. Is there an automatic no in moving forward? Chandler, no, not necessarily. At least not at Mastercard. We don't necessarily ding you because you don't get through all the questions. Because frankly, we don't necessarily always expect you to get through all the questions. But we rather think about how you have made it through the question that has been posed to you. Sometimes, people take more time than others. So it's not an automatic no for us at Mastercard. Maybe there is in other companies. I would hate to see that, but not at Mastercard. All right, we're going to keep going, y'all. So here are a few tips. Now, let me say this. Most companies, and it's probably not going to change, are completely digital and virtual when it comes to interviews, right? The day of coming into an office and traveling half a day and traveling half a day back home just for an interview has probably died at this point. And so you have to become more and more comfortable with virtual interviews. Please don't say you're not your best self. You're not sure. You don't like being in the screen. It's the way of life, and you have to accept that, y'all. I told you we're fam. This is a fam presentation. I told you guys that. So as from one family member to the other, you've got to get comfortable with virtual interviews and just working virtually in general. So when you are in a video chat and doing a virtual interview, body language still matters. The only difference between a virtual interview and an in-person interview is just that we're not in the same room, but it should feel almost similar to it as best as it can. So you still have to smile. You still have to monitor your face. You still have to give some type of eye contact, be it to the little bright light coming from your computer, but you still have to see engaged. We still do get feedback from interviewers who are like, this person was looking off to the left and to the right, and they weren't engaged and they weren't smiling. So still have to treat it like you would if you were in person. Being virtual doesn't give us an option to slack off, okay? All right. So you see her? She's waving. Preparation, y'all. I told you again, this is a fam conversation. You've got to prepare. You have to prepare in advance for your interview. So I see Isabella asked that question. What resources do you recommend when practicing for technical interviews? You can use some of the website resources, going in HackerRank and practicing some questions. But frankly, I'll be honest, go back to some of the basics of computer science, some of the things that maybe you haven't seen and done in a while, algorithms, right? You can also ask your interviewer of how you can better prepare for your interviews. Are there, ask them expectations. Here at Mastercard, we actually hold a prep session every Monday for those who are going through the technical interview to walk them through just what the experience is going to be like and what they should expect. If the company you're applying to doesn't do that, ask for it, right? You can totally ask and see if they'll give you insight on what the experience is going to look like. But yes, you can use HackerRank and some of those tools to practice. I would say go back to Computer Science 101, some of the basic things that maybe you just have fallen off, but also prepare in setting yourself up, right? Make sure you test out equipment. You'll see that in the next slide as well, but I'm just going to bring it up early here. Go in and shut your computer down the day before, right? And make sure there's no software upgrades or anything that's going to cause you to have technical issues. Make sure you have your phone next to you just in case, your network goes down, right? In your house, that which of course we won't ding you for. Make sure that you can actually access the system or the platform that the interview is going to be running in. So if it's MS Teams and you don't have that downloaded, you need to do that. And better yet, make sure you've read the interview instructions. That's one that I tell you candidates make errors with quite a bit. They don't read the interview document in all the way to the end. They don't realize that there's a software that they are going to be using that they're not aware of. They also don't think about the process and the steps that it takes for that interview. So please read those. Any note that comes from the recruiter, if something's missing, feel free to ask them. All right. So now we're going from prep into how we dress, y'all. Again, just because you're virtual does not mean you need to roll out of bed and just come into an interview. It's still an interview, fam. You still got to dress the part, even if it's just from the waist up, right? I mean, you could be wearing joggers at the bottom. No one cares. But at least from the waist up, dress appropriately. Even if your interviewer is dressed very casually, please don't take that as your opportunity to do that. Actually, recently I met with an executive referral candidate, and it was just a conversation, it wasn't an interview. I was so impressed that she had her backdrop for her school. She was dressed in professional attire, and I shared with her, I was like, oh, this is not an interview. It's just a conversation. But it really made me think that she took it seriously. She took just even the conversation serious, which gave me some insight into her and her professionalism. So take these interviews seriously. Dress for where you want to be, not for where you are at the moment. Okay. And so Jack asks, I'm going to just look at a couple of your questions here. How does the interviewer generally measure an interviewee's performance during the interview? Is it just if they were able to solve the question, or is there more to it? Great question, Jack. For us at Mastercard, and I speak for Mastercard, it is not just getting the question right. That's, of course, helpful. And frankly, as you know, as a developer, there isn't just an absolute right or wrong for any of our questions, especially on a coding question. It's just maybe good, better, good, greatest, whatever, right? It's on a spectrum. So that, yes, if you're in the better or the best option is helpful, shows that you understand the material. But we also look for us at Mastercard, your ability to solve problems. For us, our developers are not just twiddling away and developing in a corner. They've got to solve real life problems. So that's a big thing for us, your ability to problem solve. And so for us at Mastercard, we actually like in our interviews technical candidates to talk and communicate quite a bit throughout their interview process, because it allows the interviewer to understand their thought process. How are they coming to their solution? And even if they're off, it helps the interviewer bring them back to on track. So it's not one and done for us. It's there, if you're getting the answer, but also how you got there. What's your thought process? And even your expertise with different coding languages is helpful too. So great question. All right, we're going to move forward. Be patient and flexible, guys. I mean, this little icon is quite humorous, but remember that this is a technical interview. You got to be patient with your interviewer and yourself. Frankly, we've seen some influx of candidates really not being patient with their interviewers. Interviewers are people like you too, who are also probably working at home that day. Some interviews will work from home just so that they have a less distractive environment for you. But that doesn't mean that a dog doesn't bark, or a child that they weren't expecting to be home doesn't come barging into the door. It happens. Be patient with things happen. One of the things I was talking to one of my direct reports about was that we had a candidate who had a technical difficulty, and it's like he couldn't recover. He couldn't get over that. There was a mistake and recover from it. Those technical issues show us how in the moment you can get through a problem and recover. It's your opportunity to recover. And frankly, things happen. It's not the problem that's the issue. It's how you recover or your inability to do so. So be patient and flexible with your interviewer and with yourself. All right. We talked about this a little bit, and really making sure that you are focused during your interview. When I say have your phone by, it's just so that if, God forbid, your computer shuts down or something technical happens, you can switch to your phone for your interview really quickly, right? Help you recover a lot faster. But that doesn't mean you should have IG ping, 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 pinging throughout your interview, or that you should be in a very loud environment. Recently, someone didn't get a role because they felt, the interview team was really discouraged by the fact that the candidate, instead of, who knew about the interview well in advance, decided to sit in a very busy, loud area to do their interview, instead of booking a room on campus or going to their dorm room. And it really looked like they didn't prepare. They didn't think it was, it was worth their time. And that was amongst, obviously, other things that kind of added to their inability to move on to the next level. So really understand that even your environment, technology going off, right? It all impacts your appearance during the interview. So really set to disconnect, get a place that shows that you are taking this technical interview very seriously. All right, y'all. Okay, I'm going to look at a couple of your questions. I appreciate y'all coming in with great questions left and right. Saman says, would you say that confidence plays a role in how you perform during the interview? Yes and no. So it does play a role, absolutely. Because I do see that people are a bit more confident or just more secure in themselves, recover a bit quicker, at least from debriefs that I sit in for my team. So it does help, but confidence can also be a little negative. So there's a difference between confidence and cockiness, y'all. Again, I hope I can be real, and this is a family conversation. So you can be confident knowing that, look, I've done my best. And even if, this is I'm putting out my best self. So that's confidence to me. Cockiness goes, can make you slip up. Frankly, cockiness can make you think like, oh, I got this. I don't need to put an effort. I don't need to try. I don't need to give my all. And that could get you real sloppy real quick. So just to find that, find that happy medium of confidence. I've done my best. I prepared. I'm going to do what I can do. And I am my best self, and stray away from cockiness, which is like, I don't need to try. I'm great. I'm amazing. Everything's great with me. That can get you into a lot of trouble. Okay. All right. Amara says, I know you mentioned questions about asking about the interview, but what are some questions that appeal to both, knowing more about the company and speak to the individual's experience? Beautiful. What I love questions about the company that really get an interviewer thinking is, what's the trajectory? What are some new things that we can expect to see from this company in the next year or two, right? I wouldn't say 5 years, because frankly, nobody knows what they're going to be doing in 5 years. And if they did, they're not going to share it with you because it's usually confidential. But are there some new initiatives that that apply to that role? Or even better than that, honestly, like remix, better than that is go on their website and find something that you see that the business is talking about, and ask more about that. Like, hey, I read up on AI, right, or machine learning at Mastercard, and how, or biogenetic, right, biogenetics, and how that plays into finance. And I was just wondering, does this team have any impact on that? What do you think about it? Be honest that they may not have the answer, but it does show that you've done your research, right? Versus just tell me about the company. So one of the things I hate is when candidates come and ask me and like they're quizzing me. I want you to come to the table with something that we can have a very lively discussion. And the other surefire is culture, right? What are some things that stand out about that company's culture? And that also plays into that individual experience. Like, hey, I read Mastercard is really invested in something called In Solidarity that talks about, minimizing the wealth gap, right? Especially the Black wealth gap. As an employee, have you had anything, impact, or made an impact in solidarity? Do you see that practically on the internal side? Some companies do these great initiatives externally, but internally that you don't feel it. Do you feel it as a Black employee at Mastercard, right? That's a thought-provoking question. That's something that tells me you did some research. And that also will tell you, the experience that they're having within the company. So great question, Amara. All right, Kevin says, how are interviewers able to tell if a person interviewing is a good fit for the company in a 1-hour interview? What are some key traits that shows that they would do well in the role? Frankly, Kevin, it's a whole process from your resume review to the interview. And to be honest, we really are trying to look at what you've done in the past to guesstimate or to strategically predict if you would be successful, right? So that even starts with the resume process. But yes, it is a short time, but interviewers have been prepped and trained, especially as you interview more and more, you can tend to pick up things, right? And some of the key traits I would say just generally is, first and foremost, your technical knowledge. If you say you can code in Python and then we give you, say, okay, work on this coding problem, right? And we're starting to see you use Java, then we're getting lost here, right? So there's some of those things. Be a master of your skill or your craft. And that can come out in a lot of these technical interviews, right? Your ability to say that you know Java. Now we're going to put it an opportunity to put a problem in front of you and ask you to solve that in Java, because that's what you said you're skilled at, right? The other thing also is your problem solving skill, which is critical in technology. Are you thinking about this holistically to solve the problem? So for example, I did a workshop for your Color Stack fam in WashU. So if you guys are on for WashU, big shout out to you all. And one of the great questions I got from them was, one of the candidates were asking, hey, how can I enter into this grocery store? Is there only one way I can go up and down the aisle? Can I go across, zigzag? I love his question, because it made me realize that this guy's not just trying to get to the answer. He's trying to really figure this problem out the fastest way he can do it and the most efficient way. He's thinking about it as a problem versus a act. So great question. Hopefully I answered it. Let me know if I did it. Tristan says, what are some common mistakes to avoid in technical interviews? I think I'm going to go through that in a bit. So Tristan, I'll come back to you. What are the most common behavior interview questions? Great. Because we're not going to talk about that too much. I'll answer that question for you, Mukhar. So number one is that you sound rehearsed. That's probably one of the big things that stand out for me. And I recently was talking to one of my directs and about a candidate that didn't move forward because he sounds so rehearsed and he kept saying, give me 30 seconds. So then the interview team was wondering, are you using Chat GPT? Are you reading something? Like, why do you need 30 seconds every question, right? It was getting a little funny. You sound really rehearsed. We don't get a sense of what you're saying, right? We can't follow you. So that's one of the common mistakes. That's why I use the SAR or STAR method. I say STAR because situation, action, results. The other thing that's a mistake is that inability to understand what the impact you made. What did you do? Not what did the team do, but what did you do? That's something that definitely is a mistake that we see sometimes in behavioral interviews. And then, can Mastercard sponsor internationals in other countries? At this time in our North American team, we're unable to do that. All right. And Keith says, should I email or DM the interviewer on LinkedIn to thank them for an interview? Actually, I would tell you, send your thank yous to the recruiter. The recruiter typically does a great job to get them to the interviewer. And it also helps in case the interviewer doesn't want their information shared. Send that to recruiters. And also, recruiters are good about bubbling those thank yous up to their bosses, right? Which sometimes the interviewers forget to do. So great question. Send it to the interviewer. How would you recommend dealing with the stress that comes with the interview process? Nazreen, 20 years, girl, in the game, right? In talent was it, and I still get sweaty palms. Some of it is just really practicing and preparing. Once you've practiced and prepared, you feel confident knowing I've done what I need to do, right? And so gradually go to your career services and just do ad hoc, interview preps. That helps you. The more you do something, the more confident you are in it, and the less nervous you are. But frankly, it never goes away. I still get sweaty palms. I still feel super nervous, and I've been doing it for 20 years, and I've interviewed thousands of people probably at this point, but you just can't never go away. But be calm, be confident in what you've done, right? And your preparation, just who you are, and know at the end of the day, if it's for you, it's for you. If it's not, something better's coming down the road. And then Jose says, what do you guys look like for the most on a, so what do we look for the most on a candidate during the interview? I think I answered that quite a bit. Knowledge, right? Technical knowledge, problem solving skills, and that the behaviors that we're looking for, which we in Mastercard call Mastercard way. Man, the questions are coming in. All right, I'm going to stop at this last question. How should we address expertise we don't have when asked? Share that you don't have the expertise. Trying to fake it till you make it is not helpful. We usually can see that. So try to, say, oh, I'm sorry, I don't think I have experience in that. And be honest about it. All right. So let's keep going, y'all. Let's keep going. Couple of 3 technical tips. Know where you're getting into, right? So what to expect in a coding interview is a coding interview really is trying to give you an opportunity to solve one or more problems. It varies, right? Some companies will have one at a time. Others, at Mastercard, we have kind of a multi-layered question. And so it may have multiple parts. That's how we do it. And be prepared to do design, code writing, and both. We will not at Mastercard run your code. Maybe another company you interview with will ask you to run code. We don't do that. So maybe something for you to ask your recruiter to help you prepare. Understand there go. This is us at the Clark Atlanta. So anyone from Clark Atlanta, woo-woo, shout out to y'all. But the goal for us is to really see if you're thinking critically, your ability to communicate and think logically, right? For us at Mastercard, we're not looking to trip you up. We're not that company that wants to see you fail. Frankly, we have interviews who even kind of give you tips, not the answer, but they'll try to nudge you in the right direction because they really do want to see you do well. And they can see you heading down the right road and maybe just been a slight left turn when you should have kept straight, right? It's like Siri rerouting. And that's what they're trying to help you do. You want to see you be successful. You don't want to see you fail. But that's usually our goal at Mastercard. But ask your recruiter wherever you're interviewing. Be aware of those nonverbal nuances, right? Things that you're saying that you're not saying, right? Understand that when you look confused or if you're looking from screen to screen, people are watching those things, right? They're trying to figure out what you're trying to do. And so you really want to be thoughtful about those nonverbal cues. All right. So we're not going to practice today because this will take us a minute. I rather do want to answer some of your questions. So I'm going to stop sharing. And because of lack of time, we have 5 minutes left. So James says, does not having an internship harm my chance at Mastercard? No, not necessarily. What leadership skills do you bring into the table? You may be a rising junior. You may have not had a chance to have an internship, right? And so we don't knock you out for that, but we do want to see what projects you worked on that helps and what leadership experience. And I don't love to see a ton. I mean, I don't do it much these days, but for my team, we don't necessarily need to see like 500 internships and you do nothing else on campus. We like to see well-rounded candidates at Mastercard. All right, great question, James. Sergel says, can you speak on negotiating afterwards? Yes. So I would tell you, number one, on the campus side, some roles, frankly, are not negotiable on the campus side. It is like a flat rate because equity is so critical in campus far more than it is probably on the experience side. So don't necessarily take what maybe your cousin, mother, brother tells you that, oh, you need to negotiate. It's not always possible. Equity is so critical in our world. It may be this is the rate for every software engineer. And the only difference is if you're in New York versus you're in Kansas, right? Because the cost of living. But if you do want to ask about negotiation, I'm all about it. You don't ask, as I always say, if you don't ask, you don't know. The worst thing is not asking. The worst thing is not no. The worst thing is not asking, find out you could have gotten yes. So there's nothing wrong with asking. But if they tell you that we don't negotiate, accept it because it's very common on the campus side. This is not professional recruiting or experience recruiting. Is getting a non-optimal solution for a programming question bad in the eyes of the interview? Not necessarily at Mastercard, maybe other companies, I can't speak to them. But for us, it's maybe why and taking the cues of the interviewer. If they try to give you cues and you didn't take it, that could be a little like, they're not paying attention or they're not, for lack of better words, humble enough to listen to their expertise. So that could be it. And do you have advice to boost creativity during the interview when it might be a low due to nervousness? One of these, take a breath, step back, take a second. Remember, look, many times candidates go through interviews thinking this is the end all be all. It is not. Even if the role is not for you, that's fine. There is a role out there for you. It's not one and done. It's not life and death. You are okay. If you don't get that job, there's another one out there for you. Believe in yourself. Believe that there is, if this is not it, there's probably a better job out there for you, like my Mastercard job, frankly. All right. And what are good questions to ask? I think I answered that. Does Mastercard hire sophomores for the internships? Yes, we do. Good way to build rapport. Be yourself, right? Don't cross lines. Don't share things that are too personal, but just be yourself. That's the best way to do. Or what are some common mistakes candidates make during technical interviews? I think I answered this. Like I said, not knowing the language, not preparing, being extremely nervous, not recovering, and really not being themselves. Advice when having technical difficulties during interviews. I said this as well. Recover. It's okay. Things happen. How you recover is what matters. What's the best way to prepare for an interview? I think we talked a lot about that throughout. That's a whole deck. It'll take me too long to go over. How to build confidence on interviews. Practice, practice, practice. I think I mentioned that before. What not to ask during interviews. Tell me about this job. It means you didn't read the job description. It means you didn't talk to the recruiter. Don't tell me about this job. You should have known. You may ask that same question and tell me about the difficulties of this job. That's different. That will give you insight. But don't tell me about the job. It's like when you guys go to career fair booths, what jobs do you have here? Can you tell me what you're looking for? You don't go to McDonald's and say, what food do you have here? There's a board. You look at the board and you tell the person at the booth what you want. You've got to do that work. You can't expect the business to do that for you. I'm not used to speaking about my thought process as I code. Do you have any advice? Practice, practice, practice. Practice with a friend. Practice with a friend. Get on teams and do it. Any advice to deal with getting nervous right before interviews? Calm down. Get on a little bit earlier. Calm down. For me, frankly, prayer works for me. Whatever works for you to calm down. Is there a good way to follow when being ghosted? Well, recruiters don't ghost so much. It's just they may be overwhelmed. So send a note and follow up. But I know we're at time. I'm so sorry for those of you. I did not get to your questions, but this was great. This was great. This is great. And I know Michelle Down is going to come back. I enjoyed my time with you. I hope to be back for another Fam Friday. Hit us up on mastercard.com/careers. We have a number of software engineer roles, data engineer roles left. We would love to see you join us. It was great meeting you all. Thank you, guys. Oh, Michelle, I think you're on mute.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for spending time with us. Let's give all the love, all the thank you. I hope you're seeing all the love in the chat as well as the emojis. Thank you so much for spending time with us on this beautiful Friday. I'm going to do the giveaway question very quickly, and then I'm going to let you go. So the question, are we ready on our keyboards, y'all? Okay, work. The question is, do you need to have every single experience listed on a job description to be considered? Let's see. Oof. Oh. Hold on now. Hold on.
One answer.
I think Mike Nunez. I saw Mike Nunez first. The answer is no. The answer is no. Just do it. Thank you so much, Harriet. We truly appreciate you and all your time. Have an amazing weekend. Thank you so much. Yes, make sure to connect with Harriet if that's something that you would enjoy. Y'all, this has been so helpful, so informative. We are actually going to go ahead and transition into 15 minutes of roundtables in the lounge space. So feel free to join either the networking or chapter formation tables. And then at 3:45, we have Qualcomm resume review workshop, y'all. It's going to be juicy. It's going to be fun. It's our last session of the day. No, but it's okay. For now, make sure to follow colorstack.org on Instagram, on LinkedIn. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and we'll see you in 15 minutes.